He looked me dead in the eye and said, "I'd be embarrassed to say you were ever mine." That was the last thing Alara ever said to me before walking out of my life, heels clicking down the marble lobby like punctuation marks to her final insult. She didn't cry. She didn't even flinch. Just handed me the pieces of everything I thought we were, like they meant nothing. And maybe to her, they never did. I stood there with her words still ringing in my ears, embarrassed, not angry, not sad, not broken, just embarrassed. Like the years we spent meant less than a wrinkle in her perfect image. She left me right before the pitch that could have changed everything, said she couldn't keep dating a man with potential, that she needed certainty, not promises. That ambition without results was just another word for delusion. And I was the delusional one in her eyes. When the elevator doors shut behind her, I didn't chase her. I didn't have the strength to. But I remember walking back to my apartment, bare walls, unpaid rent, cold silence, and standing in front of the mirror, looking at the man she said was unworthy of her love. I didn't see a failure. I saw someone unfinished, and in that moment, I made a promise. Not to prove her wrong, to prove myself right, that I didn't need to be loved to become someone, that I didn't need her validation to matter, that maybe the best revenge wasn't anger. It was growth so undeniable it silenced the ones who doubted you without a single word. So I disappeared. From her world, from mine, from everything familiar. And when I came back, I wasn't the same man she left. She told me to grow up, I did, and outgrew her completely. My name is Axton Vale, and I wasn't born remarkable. No one looked at me growing up and thought, he's going to become someone. I wasn't the golden boy. I didn't win medals, I didn't shine in crowds, I blended in, and for most of my life I was okay with that. Until Alara. She noticed me before anyone else ever did. It was during a senior design showcase at our university. I had spent 3 sleepless nights sketching out a prototype pitch, only to realize I was the only guy in the room without sponsors or connections. I stood there, sweating in a borrowed blazer, thinking no one would care. She did. Alara, with her sleek ponytail, blood-red lips, and voice as smooth as ice slipping into whiskey. She walked right up to my table, glanced at my hand-drawn model, and said, This is going to change things." I laughed like she was joking. She wasn't. She stayed long after the room cleared, asked questions no one else cared to, challenged my ideas, poked holes in my theory, made me sharper with each one. And when I asked what she did, she smiled and said, "I'm majoring in finance. I don't build things. I find people who do. Then I help them make it big." That night, we walked through the city until our feet hurt. I bought her street food. She teased me for being cheap. I told her I was broke. She told me ambition was sexier than money. I believed her. We started dating 2 weeks later. It was passionate, fast, consuming, the kind of love you dive into without checking the depth. Alara was magnetic. When she wanted something, the world moved for her. When she entered a room, heads turned. When she kissed me, it felt like I mattered. She was my first real risk, and I became addicted to proving I was worth it. I wanted to build something big, something that would make her proud. So I stopped wasting weekends. I stopped partying. I stopped anything that didn't get me closer to the future I wanted with her. She said she loved that about me. How focused I was. How serious I could be. How I listened to her when she talked. About power, money, and control. She told me we were going to be unstoppable. And maybe, for a while, we were. But slowly, things shifted. She'd scoff when I'd bring her ramen during my all-nighters. Still living like a student? She'd look at my worn-out sneakers and mutter, "You know image matters in business, right?" She started dressing sharper, going to events I wasn't invited to. Said she was networking. Said I wouldn't understand. When I talked about my product prototype getting traction online, she blinked and said, "That's cute." She stopped asking about my projects, stopped answering late-night calls. Her texts got colder. Her kisses grew absent-minded. She started telling me what I should be, who I should be, if I wanted to succeed, if I wanted to keep up with her. I started feeling like a pet project she was tired of. But I stayed. Because when Alara loved you, you felt like the only person in the world. And when she didn't, you tried harder just to feel that again. Maybe that was my mistake. Chasing a Wayne version of us that didn't exist anymore. Still, I kept building. Quietly, obsessively. I was so focused on becoming the man I thought she wanted that I didn't realize she had already moved on. The night she left, she didn't even fight. She was calm, distant, disconnected. "You've got a lot of potential, Axton," she said, sipping her wine. "But potential isn't enough anymore. I need someone real. Someone established." Her words weren't cruel. They were indifferent. Like I was just another phase she was outgrowing. Like I was the training wheels before the real ride began. She walked out wearing heels I bought her for our anniversary, past a bookshelf filled with business books I had marked up with sticky notes for her career plans, past the sketch I once made of her, framed on the wall. She didn't even glance at it. And when the door shut behind her, it didn't feel like heartbreak. It felt like failure. Not just losing the girl, but losing the version of me that believed I was enough for her. I didn't cry that night. I didn't scream. I just sat on the floor for hours, thinking of every time I had put her first. Every time I silenced my needs. Every time I told myself this was just a rough patch. And then I got up. And I began again. Not for her. For the man I wanted to become long before I met her. The real Axton. Not the one chasing Alara's approval. Not the one trying to be her equal. The one who would learn to build something unshakable. So the next time someone looked at me and said, "Grow up," I'd already be 10 steps ahead. The first time I saw her again, she was sitting at the rooftop bar with a glass of wine and a man I didn't recognize. She laughed. That same melodic way she used to when I whispered ideas to her in bed, when the world was quiet and we still believed in each other. But now, the laugh didn't belong to me. It echoed in a space I wasn't welcome in. I hadn't planned to be there. Gia had insisted we go out to celebrate the launch of our new campaign. "You've been locked up in that office for weeks," she said. "Come out. Look human for a night." I almost declined, but something about her tone made me cave. Gia was already at the bar when I arrived. Her back was to the skyline, her soft features glowing under the golden string lights, her dark lashes casting shadows on her cheeks. She was stunning in a way that didn't demand attention, but always received it anyway. "I ordered your usual," she said without looking up. "Whiskey, neat. You're welcome," I grinned. "You always this bossy?" "Only when I know I'm right," she smirked. And then Alara's laugh broke through the air behind us. Gia noticed the change in my posture before I could fake it. "You okay?" I turned my head just enough to catch a glimpse. Alara dressed like she was walking a runway. Hair sleek, heels sharper than her tongue had ever been, lips curved around a glass of red. The man beside her looked like the kind of guy Alara would have warned me to become. Expensive suit, smug eyes, empty presence. I hadn't seen her in nearly a year. But something about the way she looked at him, like she was trying too hard to care, it told me she noticed me too. She didn't wave, she didn't smile, just kept sipping her wine, pretending I wasn't there. Until she wasn't. Minutes later, I felt a presence behind me. "Alara," I said flatly, before even turning. "Axton." Her voice was cool, almost playful. "Didn't expect to see you. Here." I finally turned to face her. I could say the same. She glanced at Gia. "Friend?" Gia leaned in slightly. "Business partner, friend, occasionally the person who stops him from ruining his own life." Alara gave her a once-over. "Interesting." "Likewise," Gia said calmly, then turned away, giving us space without moving an inch. Alara looked back at me, eyes scanning my face. "You look different." "You don't," she laughed under her breath. "Still sharp, still blunt," I replied. There was a pause. She didn't fill it. Instead, she dropped the real blow, so casually I almost missed it. "I heard you finally did something with that little app idea of yours." "It's doing well," I said simply. "Good," she said, swirling her wine. "I always said you had potential. just needed to grow up first. I didn't respond, because somewhere in those words was the truth I never wanted to admit, that she'd stopped seeing me as a partner long before she left. She'd only seen me as a project, something to mold. And once she realized I couldn't be shaped to her liking, she moved on. But what hit harder wasn't what she said. It was how Gia stiffened beside me, silently absorbing every word. Alara tilted her head. "Don't tell me this is the rebound." Gia stood up slowly. "Actually," she said, brushing invisible lint from her skirt, "I'm the woman who stayed while he rebuilt himself." "You might have heard of those. We're rare." Alara's eyes narrowed just enough. "I'll be outside," Gia said to me. "Take your time." When she left, Alara crossed her arms. "So, she's the new muse now?" I stared at her. "No. She's the woman who never once made me feel like I had to be more than I already was." That was when her smile cracked. "You think I didn't love you?" she whispered. "I gave you everything." "No," I said quietly. "You gave me conditions. Love when I performed. Approval when I succeeded. Silence when I struggled." She looked away. "Every time I failed, you disappeared a little more. Every time I hesitated, you held it against me." "And what?" she snapped. "She's perfect? She gets to love the new you?" "No," I said, my voice low. "She gets to love the real me. The one who figured out he never needed to change to be worthy." Alara opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I took a step back. "I loved you, Alara," I said. "But you only loved who I might become, not who I was." And with that, I turned and walked outside into the cool air, where Gia waited with crossed arms and eyes that didn't need words to understand what had just happened. She handed me my drink. "Done?" "Done." Gia bumped her shoulder against mine. "You grew up," she said. "No," I murmured. I just finally stopped shrinking. And somewhere in the space between that rooftop and the night we first kissed, the version of me that Alara broke quietly slipped away, replaced by someone I didn't need to explain anymore. The night after seeing Alara again, I couldn't sleep. The ceiling above my bed felt lower than usual, like it was pressing down on me with the weight of everything I'd left behind. Gia had fallen asleep on the couch after we got back, her head tilted to the side, a book she never finished resting on her chest. I stood in the hallway for almost half an hour, watching her breathe. I should have felt relief. I had closure, at least enough to draw a line through that chapter of my life. But instead, I felt hollow. Not because I still wanted Alara. I didn't. I knew that with every cell in my body. But the scars she left behind, they weren't fully healed. Seeing her just reminded me how deep they still ran. There's something unnerving about being reminded of who you used to be. That version of me, the one who needed her validation to feel like a man, he still existed, buried somewhere under the new skin I wore. And that terrified me. I lay in bed with my hands folded over my chest, eyes open in the dark, haunted not by Alara's words, but by my reaction to them. Why had I even let her voice shake me? Was I not over it? Or was I just pretending to be? The next morning, I went through the motions. Coffee, emails, meetings, gym. But everything felt mechanical, like I was watching myself from outside my body. My team celebrated another spike in downloads. Clients praised our newest update. But none of it felt like anything, because in the back of my mind, a voice kept whispering, "You still needed her to see you. You still cared if she noticed." The worst part was knowing Gia had seen it too. She hadn't brought it up. Not once. But her silence said more than words ever could. That evening, she came into my office, barefoot, holding 2 mugs of tea. "You working late again?" "Just sorting reports," I said, without looking up. She placed the mug beside me, then hesitated before sitting on the edge of the desk. "You've been off." I stared at the screen, numbers blurring together. "I'm fine." "No, you're not," I sighed, leaned back in my chair, and looked at her. I don't know what's wrong. I just feel like I should be okay by now, but I'm not. Gia didn't answer immediately. She just studied me, her eyes soft, unreadable. Do you want her back? She asked. I blinked. What? No, not at all. Then what is it? I ran a hand through my hair. I think part of me still hates how easily she threw me away. And maybe I hate that I still want her to see what I've become. Gia tilted her head. Even after all this time? That's the thing, I whispered. I don't miss her. But I miss being enough. I miss being seen. She nodded slowly. It's hard, isn't it? When someone convinces you that love has to be earned, that you have to reach a certain version of yourself just to be worthy. I swallowed hard. She made me feel like love was a performance. Gia didn't respond right away. Instead, she reached out and took my hand. You don't have to perform here, she said gently. Not with me. And just like that, something cracked open in my chest. I didn't cry. I didn't break. But I felt the ache in my throat loosen. Just enough to breathe again. Later that night, after she went to bed, I stood on the balcony alone, staring at the city lights, feeling both too small and too large for my own skin. I remembered all the times I tried to make Alara proud. All the nights I stayed up working just to be the man she claimed she wanted. All the quiet disappointments she never voiced, but always wore like perfume. And I realized something painful but necessary. Maybe it wasn't about her seeing me now. Maybe it was about forgiving myself for ever needing her to. But even as that clarity settled in, the fear didn't vanish, because there was another voice now. A new one. Gia knows the parts of you that still shake. What if she walks away too? That was the new terror. Losing someone kind. Losing someone who saw all of me. And stayed. Because the truth was, it's easier to hate the person who broke you than to trust the person who's trying to love you whole again. I closed my eyes, the wind cold against my face, and whispered into the night, please don't let me ruin this too. Because even growth comes with ghosts, and sometimes they whisper louder in the silence than the people who left ever did. 2 weeks passed. Alara didn't reach out again, and I convinced myself it was over. Whatever ghosts she stirred up had been put back in their graves. Gia and I settled into something soft, something steady. She filled the spaces Alara left behind without ever trying to. And I started believing that maybe, finally, I was safe. Until Case showed up. I hadn't seen him in years. Alara's cousin. The same guy who used to laugh behind my back at family dinners, whispering that I wasn't man enough for her. He called me out of nowhere and asked to meet. I almost said no. I should have. We met at a cafe downtown. Case looked different. Older, worn down. He didn't smirk when he saw me. That alone was enough to unsettle me. Thanks for coming, he said, sitting across from me, fingers tapping nervously on his coffee cup. I didn't bother with pleasantries. What's this about? He took a deep breath. She's not doing well. Alara? I asked, tone flat. He nodded. She's in therapy. Hasn't been the same since you left. I raised a brow. She left me, Case. I know. He said quickly. But she talks about you a lot. Keeps saying she didn't realize what she had. I looked away. Why are you telling me this? He hesitated. Because she's planning something. My attention snapped back. What do you mean? She wants to win you back, he said. And she's not above pulling strings to do it. She's not thinking clearly. I stared at him, the words slow to land. She's already contacted Gia. That hit harder than I expected. What? Case nodded, uncomfortable. Reached out anonymously, offered to mentor her, said she admired her business model. Gia doesn't know who she is yet. My chest tightened. Why would she do that? She said she wants to see what kind of woman replaced her, he said. And if she could show you the difference in the process, Better. I stood up so fast the chair nearly tipped. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't wait. I just left. The air outside felt suffocating. I called Gia. She picked up on the third ring. Hey, everything okay? Did you talk to anyone recently about mentorship, partnerships, anything unusual? There was a pause. Yeah, some woman reached out a few days ago, said she liked my approach, wanted to grab coffee, sounded professional but a little off. What name did she give? Lisa. Why? I closed my eyes. Don't go. Block the number. Axton, what's going on? It's Alara. Silence. Then Gia said quietly, You sure? Yes. Gia exhaled. I knew something felt wrong. My pulse pounded. I'm sorry, I should have told you this could happen. You couldn't have known, she said, voice even. But if she tries to come near me again, I'll handle it. No, I said firmly. She's not your mess to clean up. She's mine. Because suddenly, it wasn't just about a breakup anymore. Alara wasn't just a memory. She was a threat, unraveling the life I had rebuilt piece by piece, and I wasn't about to lose Gia. Not to a woman who already broke me once. Not to someone who didn't know when to let go. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was afraid, because I was done letting Alara take even one more hour from me. The next morning, I texted Gia that I'd meet her after work. She didn't ask questions, but I could tell she knew I wasn't just going through the motions anymore. There was something different about the way I moved. Focused, cold, ready. I drove to Alara's office building. She'd been promoted recently, VP of something at some marketing firm downtown. The same office she used to talk about like it was heaven, where real players moved through the halls. I remembered the exact tone she used when she said, You should come by sometime if you want to see what success looks like. Today, I wasn't coming to visit. I walked straight past the receptionist. Confident, calm. My name wasn't on the list, but my expression didn't ask permission. Her assistant looked up, startled. He's not on the schedule. I'm not here for an appointment, I said, already opening the door. Alara was on the phone, standing by the window in a white blouse tucked into a high-waisted skirt. Perfect. Collected. Composed. But when she turned and saw me, her voice faltered. I'll call you back. The moment she ended the call, her smile surfaced. Slow. Dangerous. Axton. Finally. You reached out to Gia, I said flatly. She tilted her head. And? You used a fake name. She walked over to her desk, poured herself a glass of water, and took a sip like we were old friends catching up. I was curious. Curious? I wanted to see what kind of woman she is. The one who thinks she deserves you. I stared at her in disbelief. You still think this is about you? It is, she said calmly. You're mine, Axton. You don't see it now, but you will. That little empire you're building, you only had the courage to start it after I left. I lit the match. I gave you the fire. I took a step forward, slow and deliberate. You broke me. You didn't light a fire. You tried to bury me in ashes, and when I crawled out, you were gone. You should thank me, she said, voice hardening. If I hadn't pushed you, you'd still be stuck in that cramped apartment, sketching on napkins. I did thank you, Alara, I said, my voice steady. Every single day I worked until my body gave out. Every pitch I rehearsed. Every investor I convinced. I was thanking you in silence, turning every insult into fuel. But now, I continued, now I don't owe you a single thing. Her expression twitched, just for a second. You think she'll stay, Axton? That pretty little girl who doesn't even know how dark your shadows go? I narrowed my eyes. She knows everything, and still, she stays. She'll leave, Alara hissed, just like I did. No, I said, because she loves who I am, not who she hopes I'll become. Something broke in her then. Her hand tightened around her glass until her knuckles turned white. I made a mistake. You made a decision, I corrected. You chose status over sincerity, control over connection. And now you think you can crawl back and twist my life again? I never stopped loving you, she whispered. I exhaled slowly. You didn't love me. You loved the version of me you were trying to sculpt. You loved having someone to fix. She stepped closer. So what now? You leave, and I'm just another chapter you erase? I shook my head. You'll always be part of my story, Ilara. But you're no longer the main character. She went silent. The silence of someone who finally realizes they lost. I turned to leave. Axton. Her voice cracked. I paused but didn't turn around. I would have married you, you know, she said softly, if you had just gotten there faster. I looked over my shoulder. I'm glad I didn't, because I would have spent a lifetime trying to be enough. And with that, I walked out. Not just of her office, not just of the building, out of everything she ever held over me. When I got to Gia's place, she was curled on the couch, hoodie sleeves pulled over her hands, hair messy, eyes puffy. She stood up the moment she saw me. I'm sorry, I said. For what? She asked. For not telling you sooner, for letting someone like Ilara steal my voice again, for not protecting this us. Gia blinked once and then whispered, Are you done running? I nodded. I ran straight through the storm. I'm still standing. She walked toward me slowly, like she was still unsure. So what now? I don't want to build something she'll envy, I said. I want to build something that feels like home. Gia smiled, but there was a tremble in it. Do you think I'm strong enough to hold all the pieces of you? I stepped forward, took her face in my hands. You already do. She kissed me, soft, scared, searching. I kissed her back, firm, certain, whole. There were no fireworks, no music, just the sound of two people finding safety in each other's breath. Later that night, as we lay in bed, Gia traced the scar near my collarbone with her fingertip. She really said she still loved you? She said a lot of things. Did you believe her? I turned to face her. It doesn't matter. I stopped living in that chapter. Gia looked at me for a long time, then leaned in and kissed the scar. I like this version of you, she murmured. I smiled. So do I. And as the rain tapped against the window, I pulled her close and closed my eyes, finally knowing that I wasn't broken. I was just unfinished, and someone finally saw me as enough. Months passed. Not quietly, but meaningfully. Like every day was a stone laid carefully into the foundation of something that couldn't be shaken. Gia moved in after 6 months, not because we rushed, but because there was nowhere else that felt right for either of us anymore. Her things fit naturally beside mine. Her books started taking over the shelves, and I let them. Her laughter filled up the corners Ilara's silence used to echo in. I didn't just grow. I became someone who no longer needed to prove anything, especially not to the woman who left me behind. But life has a strange way of circling back. The first time I saw Ilara again after our confrontation, it wasn't in a bar or a coffee shop or any place where emotions hang in the air. It was at a business summit, a place where everyone smiled too hard and shook hands like weapons. I was one of the speakers. She wasn't. She was seated in the third row, alone. No spotlight, no red carpet rolled out for her, just her and her cold ambition, the one she always thought would win. When I stepped on stage, her eyes followed me like a ghost chasing the living. I didn't acknowledge her, because I didn't need to. The presentation went viral, not because I was loud or dramatic, because I was honest. I spoke about rebuilding, about rising from the kind of heartbreak no one sees but everyone feels, about finding clarity in rejection. I didn't name her, but every word cut clean through the past she tried to haunt me with. After the event, I stepped outside for air. Gia met me near the valet, her hand slipping naturally into mine. You killed it, she whispered. You think so? I asked, teasing. She leaned in. I don't think. I know. Then I felt it. That instinctive sense of someone watching. I turned. Alara was standing alone beneath the summit banner, arms crossed, pretending she wasn't waiting for something. Or someone. Gia followed my gaze, then looked back at me. Do you want a moment? No, I said, but she's coming over. Alara walked toward us, her heels hitting the pavement like she was trying to reclaim her presence through force alone. But it didn't work anymore. Her steps didn't carry weight. They carried desperation. Axton, she said, stopping just short of us. Her voice had softened. Or maybe just weakened. Alara, I replied coolly. She glanced at Gia, then back. At me. Can we talk? Alone? Gia didn't budge. Neither did I. We're good, I said. She blinked. I just wanted to say I saw your talk. It was impressive. Thank you. You've come so far, she added, and for once it didn't sound condescending. I have. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I looked her straight in the eyes. There was no venom left in me. No hate. Just the kind of peace that feels like armor. I forgave you a long time ago, Alara, I said. But I didn't forget, and I won't go back. She nodded, jaw tightening slightly. You really love her? Gia squeezed my hand, just enough for Alara to notice. I didn't hesitate. Yes, I love her in all the ways I thought I could never be loved. And she loves me without needing me to burn to prove it. Alara looked down, and for a second I saw the real her again, the woman behind the perfection. The one who ran from vulnerability so hard she mistook it for weakness. I hope she doesn't leave, she said softly. She won't, Gia replied before I could, calm and sure. Because I don't love the idea of him. I love him, even the broken parts. That was the final cut. Alara turned away without another word. No tears, no begging. Just quiet retreat. We never saw her again. But the story didn't end there. Because a month later, Gia came to me holding her phone, her expression unreadable. Did you know Alara's company is getting investigated? I raised a brow. For what? Illegal data practices. Turns out one of their campaigns was using private client data. Someone from inside leaked it. A whistleblower. I blinked. You think she'll survive it? Gia shrugged. Maybe. But she won't be able to buy her reputation back. I leaned back in my chair, a slow exhale leaving my chest. How ironic. Gia sat on the edge of the desk. Did you have anything to do with it? No, I said honestly, but Case did. He called me a week before the news broke, said he was tired of protecting someone who never protected herself. Said she'd been covering things up, risking other people's careers just to keep her image polished. He didn't do it for me, he did it for himself. But it didn't matter. The result was the same. Alara fell, not by my hands, but by the very arrogance she once used to step on others. And me? I was already building something better. 1 year later, Gia and I stood on a balcony in Paris, champagne glasses in hand. The sky blushed as the sun dipped behind rooftops, and below, our company banner fluttered against the breeze of a city that once felt like a dream. We weren't just building businesses, we were building a life. Axton? She asked, leaning, her head against my shoulder. Yeah? If you had a chance to go back and stop yourself from ever meeting her, would you? I didn't answer immediately, because the truth was complicated. But then I smiled. No. She tilted her head. Really? If I hadn't fallen apart, I wouldn't have known how to rebuild. Gia laughed softly, brushing her lips against mine. You're very poetic these days. Only because I found my muse. Later that night, I opened the small black box hidden in my suitcase. Gia wasn't just part of my future. She was my future. Watched her sleep, Strands of hair sprawled across the pillow, her breath steady, peaceful, untouched by the firestorms I had walked through to get here, and I knew, without a doubt, that this was the ending I fought for. Not a spotlight, not revenge, not applause, but a quiet kind of joy that no one could steal. The kind of ending you choose, not one you're given. So I placed the ring back in the box gently and whispered to the dark, "Thank you, Alara, for letting me go. You didn't break me. You built the man who's about to ask someone else to love him for life. And this time she'll say yes. This time it's real. This time it's mine."